Hey guys, welcome back to Crafts Go Bloom. My name is Krista and today we're going to be doing a tutorial for this chicken right here. If you have seen on my channel, I have a tutorial video and a pattern in my Etsy for Chip the Chick and this Mama the Moran chicken. These are both no-sew. And then I decided to turn them into these tiny chickens. These tiny chickens are just the first bird that I'm going to be releasing. If you look up here on my shelf, I have a whole bunch of other birds that we're going to be coming out in the next few months. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't so you can stay up to date on when I have new patterns. So let's grab our yarn for this chicken and get going. Let's go over our supplies for this chicken. Today I'm going to be making this chicken in Bernat Blanket Tweeds in the color Dove Tweed. And I chose a darker color like this because I think that it's going to look like a realistic chicken, and also I think that these stitches are going to show up better on camera than if I made it in a white or an off-white. I have Bernat Blanket in the color Crimson for the comb. And for the feet in the beak, I also have Bernat Blanket in the color Sunset. Some other supplies that we're going to need are a stitch marker, a tapestry needle, 12mm safety eyes. These are not safe for children under 3 or any child who is still putting toys in their mouth. So if you have a kid still putting toys in their mouth, I recommend that you do 6 to 8 single crochets in a magic ring using a worsted weight yarn and then embroider those eyes on instead. I'm going to be using a 6.5 or K crochet hook because that's what my yarn calls for. But use whatever hook is necessary for the specific yarn that you're using. And I've got a pair of scissors. Also, right off camera, I have a big bag of polyfill stuffing. The first thing we're going to do for this pattern is make 2 of the feet or legs, however you want to call them. They're legs that have feet at the bottom, so either one. And we're going to start by making a slip stitch. And I like to use the same color that I'm using for the beak. I like how they match, so whatever color you'd like to use for both, grab that. And we're going to start by chaining 5. And then starting in the second chain from the hook, we're going to make a slip stitch. And then we're going to go down and make 1 more slip stitch. And that's making the first toe or talon on this bird claw. Then we're going to chain 2 more. Skip that first chain from the hook, go down to the second one and slip stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch again right here at the base of that first talon so that all of our toes are connecting into that same spot. And then we're going to do that 1 more time. So chain 2, skip the first chain, slip stitch into the second chain, and then slip stitch into that base area that we started out in. And then we've got 2 more chains that we made in the very beginning, and we're going to slip stitch into both of those to go back up the leg. And then chain 1 just to finish it off, and cut your tail and pull that yarn through. And now we've got a leg and then the foot at the end. And when we get almost finished with our project, we're going to pull both of these through the body of the chicken and then tie it off in the back, and we will have 2 legs that stick off. So pause this video or back up if you need to and make a second one of these. Okay, I've got both feet finished, and we're just going to set these aside until we get farther into our project. But don't go too far with your skein of yellow because we'll be using that for the beak in a little bit. Moving on to the main part of the body of this chicken, we are going to start with the magic ring, and I do that by laying the yarn across my hand and grabbing it with my thumb. I wrap it around 3 fingers, make an X and pinch it with my thumb, wrap it around the back of my hand and grab it with my pinky. Then I'm going to take my crochet hook, go up under the first loop and grab the second one and turn, and then I'm going to grab that yarn that's attached to my pinky and pull that through. And then we've got our magic ring. And we need to make 7 single crochets in this. So if you've never done that before, you're going to reach in the circle, grab up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. Now that I've got 7 single crochets in that magic ring, we're going to grab this tail and pull on it to tighten up our ring. If you pull too hard, you can snap your yarn, so be careful. We just want to pull it tight. We're not trying to win any arm wrestling competitions. And then stick our stitch marker in that 7th single crochet, and we're done with round 1. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch, and that means that we're going to do 2 single crochets in every stitch, and we will have a total of 14 stitches at the end. For round 3, we're going to increase and then single crochet 1. We're going to repeat that pattern 7 times for a total of 21 stitches. So I've got my increase where we've got 2 and 1, and then I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then go back to the increase, and then back to the single crochet. I'm finished with round 3. Now for rounds 4, 5, and 6, we're going to single crochet 21 around. So go ahead and just single crochet 1 in each for a total of 21 stitches for the next 3 rounds, and I will meet you back here after I finished round 6. For round 7, we're going to start by single crocheting 10. And when we get to that 10th single crochet, we're going to pull up a loop and then stop there and don't finish it, because this is where we're going to pull up the color that you're using for your beak. So we're going to pull up the beak color, leave the body color alone because we're going to switch right back to it in a minute. Put that tail down, the yellow tail down, leave that alone. And we're going to do 1 single, 1 half double, and 1 single all into this next stitch, but we're only going in the front loops. So if you are unfamiliar with that, you can put your hook through just like you normally would, pull apart the 2 loops in there and find that front one. And we're going to do a single and a half double, which is where you yarn over, insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3, and then 1 more single, except we're just going to pull up the yarn that first time, and then we're going to find our main body color, and we're going to yarn over and pull through with that, and that's how we're going to do our color changes. And then I'm going to do 1 more single crochet here just to hold it down and show you guys. So we've got our beak, and we're going to do 10 more total. I know I already did 1 here, so we're going to do 9 more. But after your beak, you're going to do 10 more single crochets to get back around to your stitch marker. For round 10, go ahead and do 10 more single crochets, and then I'll meet you back and I'll show you what we're going to do under the beak. Now that I've done my 10 single crochets, we're going to look behind the beak here. Now we did the beak in the front loops of that round, so for this, we're going to go under the beak and find that back loop that's left, and we're going to single crochet 1 in there. And then we're going to make sure that you are holding this yellow down and you go over it so that it doesn't end up sticking on the outside of your project. And we're going to do 10 more single crochets to finish out the round. Now that we're at the end of the round, I'm going to go ahead and cut off this yellow, or whatever color it is that you're using for the beak, because we won't need that anymore. And we can tie this inside of the project, and that's not going to go anywhere on us. And because of the way that we crocheted it, we're actually tying it over a stitch right there. So that's good. We can set that aside and move on. For round 9, we're going to single crochet 21 around. Now that we're done with round 9, we're going to pull out that working yarn pretty long and just sort of pull that off to the side. And the next thing we're going to do is surface crochet our comb on. So it's time to get the red yarn. And what we're going to do is make a slip knot and put that on our hook. And we want to fold this in half with that beak in the front, which is why we wait until after the beak is done to do the comb on the top here. So that we really have a front here, and we can fold this in half nicely, and we can see that we've got round 1 here and round 2 right after that. And we've got our magic circle in the center. So we're going to surface crochet 5 single crochets here. And we're going to start, we've got round 1 here and then round 2. And we're going to start here, putting our hook in between round 2 and 3. There we go. Now we're going to leave our tail alone, and we're going to single crochet 1. Now, instinctively, I want to wrap the yarn around here, but that's going to leave a big red line there. So you want to pull it as close as you can to the hook, yarn over and pull that through. Yarn over and pull through both loops, just like a regular single crochet. Now it's right here and it's not running around our project, so we're not really seeing any of those stitches. Then you're going to go in the exact same place you came out before and come up in the center. And again, you know, you don't want to yarn over like this and leave a big red line. You want to make sure that red yarn is very near to what we're doing. So we've got 3. 4. And 5. Now go ahead and open up your project and make sure that you've got a straight line running from the beak to the back. You can kind of pull this tail down and see. I don't think we're going to get any straighter than that, which is great. Once you have those 5 stitches, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to work on round 2. We're going to skip this first stitch, and then we're going to do 5 double crochets in the next stitch. To do double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So now we've got 2. Now we've got our 5 double crochet. We're going to slip stitch in the next stitch to hold those down, give us a nice curved shape. And we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 5 treble crochets in the next. And for that, you're going to yarn over twice, insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and you're done. So do 4 more of those. Got those 5 finished, and now we're going to slip stitch in the original place that we started to single crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1 to finish off, and I'm going to cut off our yarn. We're going to pull that through, and then pull both of these tails down, and you'll see that naturally one is kind of on one side and one's kind of on the other. So I'm going to insert my hook from the inside, and I'm going to come up right here where that red yarn is and pull that side to the inside, pull that side of the yarn down inside. And then same thing on the other side, put my yarn over here and pull that tail down over there so that we don't see those at all. That's looking pretty good. And then we're going to flip that inside out. Now because we pulled these down on different sides, we can just go ahead and knot these. And you can pull these tight to hold that front end of that comb in place. And there we go, we've got the comb on our chicken and we didn't have to do any sewing. I love that. Now we're going to move back to our working yarn. And we'll get to work on round 10. And we're going to start by single crocheting 1. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to skip the first chain on the hook and we're going to single crochet in each of the remaining chains. So we've got 1 and 2. And then single crochet again in the place where you single crocheted before you started the chain. So that same spot. There we go. And then single crochet 5. And next we're going to make our first wing. And to do that we're going to do 5 double crochets in the next stitch in the front loops only. Next, we're going to single crochet 9, and then we're going to make the wing on the other side in the exact same way. Okay, I finished off my 9 single crochets across the front, and then I made the second wing the exact same way. In that next stitch, you're going to double crochet 5 into the front loops only. And when you finish that, go ahead and stop for a second and check out your chicken and make sure that you like where the wings are placed. If your tension is different than mine, you may not need 9 stitches in between. You may need to change that number. All that really matters is that you've got the exact same number of stitches in the round. And for this round, you're going to have 36. So if you have to take a stitch out to make them even, then add another stitch, another single crochet on the other side of the wing, and that'll fix it. So now that I'm done with my wing, we're going to single crochet 8. I've already done one of those, and we're going to remove our stitch marker for right now because we're not going to end in that place. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and when you get to that 5th single crochet, we're actually going to stick it kind of in this gap that we've got right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then same thing, go over into the tail because there's a little bit of a gap in there and do another single crochet. So that's 6. And then we're going into the back loops of that chain that we made in the beginning of this round for stitches 7 and 8. And then we're going to place our stitch marker back into that 8th single crochet that we just did. Now we're going to pull our working yarn out and go ahead and add our eyes. Now that we can see everything is where we want it, we've got our comb. There we go. We've got our comb, we've got our beak, we've got our wings, so we can really make sure we can put our eyes exactly where we want them. And for this chicken, I am just using regular 12mm black safety eyes today. I like to stick them one round up from the beak and just a few stitches apart. I think we've got about 4 in between there. I'm more concerned about them looking even on either side of the beak than how many stitches are in between them. So I like the placement of them. And if you've never done safety eyes, you just need to push them through and hold them in place. And then grab this little plastic backing and snap that down on there. And then we'll grab that second eye and put the backing on it. And that's finished. This is really coming along pretty great. I like this. Now back to our working yarn. For round 10, we're going to single crochet 8. And then when we get to that wing, we're going to single crochet in the back loop that we left, just like we did with the beak. So let's start with those 8 single crochets. When you finish those 8 single crochets and we've made it to the wing, we're not going to crochet into those double crochets at all. We're going to skip over them and find where they all went into a front loop of a stitch in the last round, and we're going to go into that back loop right now and single crochet just like we did under the beak. And then we're going to completely skip over these, and we're going to count. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to find the stitch just after the wing. And that's the next place we're going to single crochet. And we're going to do 9. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to go under that wing, and then we're going to single crochet 8 more. So now we have 27 stitches in our round. And for rounds 12 and 13, we're just going to single crochet 27 around. So do those 2 rounds, and I'll meet you back here for 14. Round 14, we're going to invisible decrease 4 times. For an invisible decrease, you're going to put your hook in the front loops of the next 2 stitches, yarn over and pull it through those, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to single crochet 3, invisible decrease 3. Next, we're going to single crochet 4 and then end this round by invisibly decreasing 3 times. Now we're going to pull out that working yarn again, and we're going to add our feet before we do our final round. Since we made our feet a little while ago, we want to grab them and make sure that we've got them both going right side up. If you've got a bunch of bumps on there, you've got it upside down, and we want those on the bottom. We want the nice flat sides on the top. And we're going to place them straight down from the eyes. And they're going to go in between rounds 13 and 14 that we just did. So we're going to go straight down from the eye, insert our hook, and pull the corresponding tail through. Now go to the other side of that same stitch. So we just put our one tail in here. We're going to put the other tail through here. Now I'm not going to tie these off just yet because I want to put both of them in and make sure that I like both of them before they're permanent. And so I'm going to come down here. And make sure that we like the placement. I think that's looking pretty good. We're even on the eyes and our beak is still centered. So go ahead and make sure you have the 2 tails from this foot here and the 2 tails from that foot over there, and tie each foot on. And I tie these 2 or 3 times and pull them all tightly. Now that I've got my feet tied on, I just tuck all those tails up in there, and it is time for us to add stuffing. I've got my chicken full of stuffing. We just have to do one more round and then we're going to be done. So I'm going to pull that working yarn tight. Put that stuffing back in there. And we're going to be doing invisible decreases. And we need to do 8 of them. And then at the end, we're going to do 1 single crochet for a total of 9 stitches. So for that invisible decrease, you're going to yarn over. You're going to go through the you're going to go through the front 2 loops of the next 2 stitches, yarn over and pull that yarn through, yarn over and pull through both of those loops. So do 8 of those and then 1 single crochet at the end to finish out the round, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, I've done my 8 invisible decreases, and then I did 1 single crochet for that 9th stitch, and I removed my stitch marker because we're all done with that. If you want to add more stuffing, now is the time, and you may have had to wait until now to really stuff the tail, so don't forget that part. But go ahead and cut off a long tail, and we're going to weave our last end in. Now for this part, I like to go through the front loops and then pull everything tight. Again, just like at the beginning, we're not pulling so tight that we're breaking anything. And when you get all 9 of those front loops sewn in, pull that tight. And then weave in your tail. The reason I weave the ends in like that is so that they stay nice and tucked in if this ever needs to go through the wash or anything like that, or just any extra loving from kids squishing it. I hope you had a fun time making this chicken with me. Love to hear from you in the comments on what color you made your chicken, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.